biggest week of the season is here. Can you believe it, Tide fans? It's here. The week everybody's been waiting on. Iron Bowl week. And what a better way to start your week than chilling, hanging with your boy on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. I'm excited. Huge week. Alabama, Auburn. For Crimson Tide fans, there's literally 3 weeks of college football that you are excited about. I'm talking about the diehard Bama fans, diehard Bama. Now, if you came on to the wagon when Nick Saban arrived in 2007, then you came on at a very opportune time, and not dissing you by any known means necessary, but the true diehard Bamas that drink the crimson Kool-Aid, that wear the crimson and white glasses, that have been following this team since the day you were born, you are looking at 3 weeks of college football in which you are excited about. You are excited about the first game of the season, most definitely, because that's the game where Nick Saban schedules a very difficult team, unless you choose to be Florida State and tank after you play Alabama. But once again, they put all of their eggs in the basket of DeAndre Francois, and you can't blame them. Well, you can, but what good would it do you? You look for the first game of the season, all the anticipation, the excitement, the build-up, and what have you. You are excited about the game in November when Alabama takes on LSU, because typically LSU will give you a game. They always do. They're tough, they're physical, they're intense, scrappy. They always give you a good game. In recent years, the Alabama-LSU matchup has determined who wins the SEC West, and more importantly, who goes on to play for a national championship. That is always a difficult game. Even though you got Ed Ogeron as the coach, and you can barely understand anything coming out of his mouth. Even this year's game, tough, scrappy, physical. So, it's LSU. You look forward to LSU. Number 3, every Alabama fan is excited for the Iron Bowl. Auburn and Alabama. If you ask any recruit, any player that's on either of these two teams right now, and you bring up who are the main schools fighting for them in their recruitment and what did the toughest decision come down to, especially for a lot of the athletes in the Birmingham, Montgomery area, they will tell you the hardest part of my recruitment came down to Alabama and Auburn. Who do I take? Who do I pick? Which one will decide to hate me less? Well, if you go to one, obviously the other's going to hate you, but as a Crimson Tide fan, you are excited about the first game of the season. You are excited when Alabama takes on LSU, and you're excited for this week, Iron Bowl week, Alabama against Auburn. And this edition will be at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn this Saturday. CBS calling the game, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Get ready for crazy commercials. But before we even get into Alabama and Auburn, I know you want to talk about it because I want to talk about it. But before we even dive into that, got to look at the takeaways from Alabama's win over Mercer first. Have to look at the takeaways from Alabama's win over the Mercer Bears. And this was a Mercer team that Auburn actually struggled with early in the season. Yes, I get it, Tiger fans. You're going to say that was at a time where Kerryon Johnson wasn't fully healthy. Jarrett Stidham was just getting his sea legs under him. Our offense then was nothing like what our offense is right now. And yes, I truly understand that, but you still had 6 turnovers and only beat Mercer 24-10. Alabama took on the same Mercer team over the weekend for Senior Day. And the 3 takeaways I took from it, takeaway number 1, the offense was highly efficient. Offense was very effective under Brian Dable. So effective that Jalen Hurts only needed 7 pass attempts the whole game. He only needed 7. Jalen Hurts 7 for 7 for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns and was out of the game by the time the second quarter started. Tua Tagovailoa, 5-star freshman from Hawaii, played 3/4 of that game. Jalen Hurts 7 of 7 passing for $180, 3 touchdowns. I get it was against Mercer, but you got him in there. He did his job. You got him out. Hurts and Tagovailoa became the first Alabama quarterback tandem in school history to throw at least 3 touchdowns each or account for at least 3 touchdowns apiece in a single game. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns throwing. Tua Tagovailoa, 3 touchdowns passing to Hale Hinches, the tight end, and wide receivers Cam Sims and Derek Keefe. So a little bit of a single game record from Hurts and Tagovailoa, becoming the first quarterback tandem in school history to account for 3 touchdowns apiece in one game. After tearing up the Mississippi State Bulldogs secondary for 171 yards receiving on 5 catches, Calvin Ridley returned against Mercer, 3 catches, 103 yards, including a 66-yard touchdown from Jalen Hurts. Calvin Ridley back-to-back 100-yard performances. Once again, 3 catches, 103 receiving yards, and a touchdown against Mercer. As we look at the running back core, how about Bo Scarborough? Bo Scarborough looked like old Bo. He had some runs that looked like old Bo, including a huge little 44-yard rumble. Scarborough, 5 carries for 54 yards in the contest. Now, am I saying that old Bo is back? That's not what I'm saying. But he did have some runs that looked like the Bo Scarborough from last year that came on strong, starting with the LSU game and then went into the Auburn game with it, the Florida game with it, in the SEC championship matchup. Of course, the huge game against Washington in the college football playoff semifinal, and the national title game against Clemson prior to getting hurt. It just looked like Bo was back. Am I saying he's back? Probably. We're not ruling out. But it just looked like Bo Scarborough from last season made an appearance. Nick Saban continuing to be adamant about getting Josh Jacobs more so involved. It happened again. Jacobs touched the ball 8 times for 86 yards, did have a touchdown reception, a little 7-yard shovel pass from Jalen Hurts. Alabama even put Josh Jacobs on kick return, which was interesting. Did not get a chance to return the kick, but he's got speed. Very dynamic hands, can get the job done in that area, but 8 touches for 86 yards and a touchdown. Wide receivers Cam Sims and Derek Keefe each caught a touchdown pass. That was pretty cool. Cam Sims, his first touchdown reception since his freshman year in 2014, where he caught a 4-yard touchdown from Blake Sims in Alabama's matchup against Western Carolina. Once again, Cam Sims caught his first touchdown against Mercer. He caught a touchdown pass against Mercer, and it was his first score since the 2014 season when Blake Sims found him on a 4-yard hookup against Western Carolina. As for Derek Keefe, who was highly recruited from Cincinnati, Ohio, caught his first ever touchdown in a regular season as a member of the Crimson Tide. The one time Derek Keefe did see the end zone or reach the end zone was during the 2016 A-Day game, where he caught a pass from Jalen Hurts, freshman at that time, giving Team White a 7-3 victory over Team Crimson. Last but not least, from the offensive perspective, team went 7 of 7 in the red zone, 4 of 6 on third down. So highly efficient. 7 of 7 in the red zone, 4 of 6 on third down. Flipping this to the Alabama defense against Mercer, how about the boy Dylan Moses? Once again, people would say, It was Mercer. Chill. It don't take all that. The Sisters of the Poor can beat Mercer. My great-great-grandmama with one eye, one leg, and coming through two wheelchairs can beat Mercer. But when you have the situation that Alabama has at linebacker where it's decimated down 4 guys, hoping to get some guys back this week, keeping your fingers crossed there, but with the situation it's got at linebacker, and you have a guy in Dylan Moses, despite how lesser tier the competition is, had the same focus, the same drive, the same intensity, and went out there and made plays, stuck his nose in on every tackle, and was commanding that defense. Give that man kudos. I don't care who you're playing. When Coach Saban puts you out there in that situation and says, young man, we need you, and you're able to answer the bell, I don't care who you're playing. He could have been playing SpongeBob. I don't care. You're out there on the field, dissecting plays, anchoring a defense, having your nose in on every single tackle, being consistent, not getting complacent, not getting lackadaisical because we're playing Mercer. But you got that type of fire about you, and you're playing a no-name? Think of the fire this boy going to have when he come up against Auburn. Just saying. When you can have fire, when you're playing against a no-name, look at this fire this boy finna come with when he's playing against Auburn. Dylan Moses, 5-star prospect, was number 5 on the ESPN 300 recruiting database when he came in the 2017 signing class, well, this year's signing class in January. Moses, a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, came out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. He got the starting nod in the early part of last week for the game against Mercer. Dylan Moses showed out 11 tackles, which was a team high and a game high. 11 total tackles. Had 10 solo stops. Once again, dissecting the play. Had his nose in on every play. Eating up the field. Taking the angle away. Doing things that Saban and Jeremy Pruitt preach on. 10 solo tackles, which was a team high and a game high. Dylan Moses, 4 tackles for loss. Team high, game high. Also his first interception of his career. Big time moment for a freshman. Huge moment. Once again, Alabama expecting some names to come back this week that were injured early on. But when you have a young man, 18-year-old kid, that you can put in a situation, I don't care how minute the game is, if that 18-year-old kid can show you, Coach, I'm ready, let me prove to you, let me show you my worth, and he goes out there and does that, look at the confidence that gives that player, his teammates, and the coaching staff moving forward, because they're thinking, if we can trust you in the small stuff, we can trust you in the big stuff. That's what Dylan Moses went out there and did. 11 tackles, 10 solo stops, 4 tackles for loss, and a pick. Boy came with the swag, securing the bag as a freshman. Dylan Moses, big-time performance where the defense was concerned. Third thing for me in the takeaway from the Alabama-Mercer game, of course, no new significant injuries, and that was a plus. No new significant injuries. Alabama has already had to deal with enough. 7 injuries this season. Of course, the 8th one came during the latter part of last week. Freshman defensive end Bryant-Denny sustained a broken bone in his foot during practice on last Thursday. Somebody that was a very, very talented player on this front line. Of course, he got his first career sack against Texas A&M, dragging Kellen Mond to the ground. I'm getting various reports, and according to some people that I've talked with, Bryant-Denny could be coming back by the college football playoff. Cross your fingers for that. Should Bama get in? Taking things one step at a time. But for the Crimson Tide to have no new injuries, huge. Ronnie Harrison got a bit dinged up, but nothing too serious. I saw Deontay Thompson go into the medical tent once, but he came out bouncing up and down, so it was not a huge issue. According to Saban, Andy Pappanastis could have kicked over the weekend, but had a slight hamstring pull in practice, and the medical staff did not want to push it, which I completely understand that. And then, of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick, who had the hamstring against LSU, tried to gut it out against Mississippi State. You can still see he was kind of in some pain, discomfort. Did not play against Mercer, but should be back full go this week against Auburn. And then Rosh Pierschbaker, who suffered a high ankle sprain against Mississippi State, is scheduled to be out between 2 and 4 weeks. Alabama hopeful to have him back for the Iron Bowl. If not, you put in J.C. Halsenauer and you keep rolling, because the Halsenauer kid, he's no slouch. Once again, former 4-star prospect from Woodbury, Minnesota, number 190 on the ESPN 300. This kid knows what to do. Has played a lot of football at his time here in the university, the senior J.C. Halsenauer. But recapping the 3 keys or the 3 takeaways from the Alabama-Mercer game, Alabama's offense, highly efficient. Defensively, Dylan Moses came to play. And this will strengthen his confidence moving forward. And number 3, no new injuries or significant injuries to be reported. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to our first break now on In My Own Words, the podcast. Don't touch that dial. Just getting you hyped up and energized for Iron Bowl week, baby. When we come back, we break down 5 Crimson Tide players that must make an impact in this game. I'm putting 5 Alabama players on the clock for this week between the Tide and the Tigers. Keep it right here, folks. You're listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine and the guys at Bama Sports Radio. And we're coming back.